ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second DigiMarcom Leadership Summit virtual edition organized by Kamikaze B2B Media. Well, my name is Bhavna Bhatia, Global Master of Ceremonies in the industry since 10 plus years, and I shall be your host for today. Well, the theme of this year's summit is AI in marketing, more intelligent, more human. Well, the current pandemic has changed many industries' functions, but few have changed as drastically as digital marketing. In marketing, the impact of technology due to the current pandemic is diverse. It's clear that the digital marketing technology trends will change the way we do business. With the rapidly advancing tech sector, marketing and technology work hand in hand to create new methods for companies to target consumers and change the digital marketing landscape. Well, the second DigiMarcom Summit is an interactive and an engaging confluence of the digital community specifically designed to showcase the very latest and exciting developments in the digital marketing and its future developments. Well, through the summit today, we hope to craft remarkable customer experiences, acquire and implement effective marketing technology stacks, nurture multidisciplinary talent, rethink strategy enabled by marketing technology innovations, adapt your organization to fast-paced, collaborative marketing, manage cross-functional teams with agile and lean practices, and also redefine marketing's role in the context of enterprise-wide digital transformation. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready with networking with 150 plus peers and colleagues, 7 in-depth sessions, 50 plus expert speakers, 8 plus hours of thought-provoking debates. Well, do join us in online conversations with our hashtag DigiMarcom 2021. We'd love to hear your thoughts and also to know more about our upcoming events. You could visit our website, www.kamikaze.co.in. So, well, ladies and gentlemen, let's get geared for a wonderful virtual experience today. So first up for our panel discussion, the theme is building a future-ready MarTech strategy for data-driven, hyper-connected, personalized experiences. Well, we're joined by our eminent panelists today. First up, Mr. Dhaval Thanki, co-founder and CEO, Goalseek, who's going to be our moderator for this panel. Well, Dhaval has over 16 years of experience in digital CRM and analytics space. He's somebody who's worked with some great brands and has built great products and service delivery models. We're also going to be joined by Mr. Sarthak, the Vice President and CMO, Tata Realty and Infrastructure Limited. Well, Mr. Seth, with 18 plus years of experience, specializes in brand strategy creation and developing markets, consumer insights, product management, and visibility strategies. We're also going to be joined by Mr. Nipun Kaushal, CMO, PNB MetLife India Insurance Company Limited. Well, Nipun has 18 years of experience across varied industries in sales and marketing, digital marketing, product management, project management, and business development. We'll also be joined by Mr. Zubin Kutar, the Head Digital Marketing Transformation Center of Excellence, Dr. Reddy's Laboratories Limited. Well, Zubin being a digital marketing leader with 18 plus years of digital marketing communication and technology expertise in B2B and B2C industry. Well, we also have Mr. Shiv Tiwary, CMO Reliance Nippon Life Insurance Company Limited. Shiv has over 17 plus years of experience in marketing strategy, change management, sales operations, and consulting. He's a member of leading industries bodies' effort to advance market development agendas. We also have Mr. Jaganathan Chelliah, the Director Marketing, Western Digital India Private Limited. Well, Mr. Chelliah has over 2 decades of sales and marketing practice in technology sector, and he's been an active participant in some of the interesting trends in the industry. Well, he's the major force behind creating the dual drive category. And we also have Mr. Boniface, Noronha, the Head Marketing and Digital Access Asset Management Company Limited. Boniface being a dynamic, high energy professional with diversified experience spanning 18 years across e-commerce, digital marketing, business and marketing strategy, customer relations, relationship management, direct marketing, market research, and corporate communications. Well, ladies and gentlemen, with this, as you can see on your stage and screen, are our eminent panelists, and we are ready to start with this wonderful summit. And I'd request our chair of this session, Dhaval, our moderator, to take it forward with his eminent panel. Over to you, Dhaval.
Thanks, Bhavna, for that wonderful invocation and the introduction round. So that sort of saves me a little bit of effort here to introduce all my fellow panelists. So I can dive right in. Good morning and welcome everyone. And I'm really excited to be talking about this really topic of the moment, which is also very close to my heart. And we have a wonderful set of people here to share their perspectives on it. So I think this is going to be a great session for all of us, where we can learn from each other and all of our audiences who could sort of benefit from our conversations. So let's get right into this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a quick overview of this topic, just provide my perspective on it, and then we're going to get into each of the panelists' point of views on it, and then get the ball rolling. So being around in the digital data technology, CRM marketing space for quite a while now, I think one of the things that excites marketers today is the availability of data, technology, and avenues of customer access, right? I mean, it's a more democratic world now than ever before for marketing, where the world is open enough. It's really about us figuring out what kind of questions we want to answer, what kind of problems we want to solve, what kind of propositions we want to deliver. So it's really a very amazing sandbox out there for marketeers in terms of the tools that are available, in terms of the kind of opportunities that are available to very harmoniously and symbiotically engage with our customers. With the advent of data and with the advent of the digital evolution, it's becoming more exciting now than ever. And just to quote Eric Schmidt here, he said this in 2004. He said the amount of data we generate, the amount of data we generated as a species from the beginning of time till 2004 is the amount of data that we're generating every 48 hours right now. And that's a pretty deep statement. I mean, the gravity of it is really something that we should all be able to resonate with, because everything we do, including this meeting right now, it's creating data, right? And it's leaving data trails, it's leaving, interesting avenues for other people to leverage. Of course, it's a double-edged sword. It cuts both ways. We hear a lot of data privacy concerns. We hear a lot of areas where, there are misuses of data, but that's true with anything evolutionary out there, right? I mean, everything has two sides, including the atomic energy project, which can create an atom bomb or could create a renewable source of energy. So it really depends on being responsible as data custodians, being responsible in our use of data, being responsible in our methods of making data work for our customers and for ourselves. So having said that, I'm not going to delve much into this. I'm going to open this conversation to our panelists to get their views on it. And what we're going to do is we have people from varied industries. We've got I'll just do a quick, name check. Won't get too much into introductions because Bhavna's done that already for me. We've got Sarthak, who's coming in from a reality and infrastructure space. We've got Nipun, who's coming in from an insurance space. We've got Zubin from the pharma space. We've got Shiv, who's coming in from a life insurance domain. We've got Jaganathan coming in from the digital product space. And we've got Boniface, who's coming in from the asset management space. So pretty good diversity here. And what I would want to now do is just, involve you guys in terms of your opening remarks on this topic, right? I mean, how does data, marketing, and technology come together to help us create richer experiences for our customers, and in the process, making business impact incidental? So how are you guys seeing this happen in your industry, in your organization, is what we could start off with. We could keep this initial conversation for around 1.5 to 2 minutes each, and then let's get the ball rolling with it. So I would want to start this conversation with you, Sarthak, if you could sort of dive in and give us your views about how you're seeing this confluence of data, marketing, and technology happen in your domain and in your organization in particular.
Well, Dhaval, thanks. I would say that it was really insightful in terms of the amount of data what has been generated, and now with every 48 hours, what you just shared. And what I can add on to this is now it is actually it's the brands which are actually not driving the change with this entire data piece. I can say it's the customers who are actually driving the change now for the brands. And while we speak from this particular thing, it is like the customers are really looking forward in terms of the relevant content. From their perspective, they are really looking out in terms of even the customers today are checking out that okay, the way they want that content from the perspective of what devices they are actually using. So there's so much which is actually happening, and if I would actually say that how this particular thing percolates down to the real estate sector, I would still say that real estate sector is more about nurturing customer relationship, which we have seen over the decades and decades. And today, with the customer coming, I would actually also like to add upon one more thing. Apart from digital, it is also a bit of phygital for us because customers today actually want to really walk into your sites, see what the end product is going to be like. They really want to experience the product also. But there's a lot of knowledge, know-how, and everything is through digital. I can say that. So the entire journey today actually starts from a digital perspective also. So I can say that your websites or so to say your targeted ads and everything is giving certain know-how to the customer. So there is so much of change which has actually happened, and I can say post-pandemic we have really realized a lot of change which has actually happened. And I still remember the first 3 months of pandemic because of the lockdown and everything. Believe me, 100% was only digital, nothing else. It was like, and we actually launched our campaigns. We went into the sales mode also because the business has to continue. And the customers were not able to really step out and come to our sites. That physical experience was not there. But because of the technology, we were actually able to create those virtual tours, a lot of AI stuff and everything. And customers really believed in us as a brand, and they actually bought also. So just to start the context, I can say that with this entire piece of MarTech coming into the picture, and also from the perspective of how we are really looking that entire customer is changing quite a lot now. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarthak. That was useful. I think the one thing that I picked from your, the points you made was this whole aspect of phygital, right? I mean, the lines between online and offline are blurring. It's one seamless experience. There are certain things you can do really well online. There are certain things that you can do really well offline. And as a brand, you've got to have the most optimum mix. You've got to get the best of both the worlds so that the customer gets one seamless end-to-end experience, irrespective of the context.
It's all about creating that seamless experience with the customer now.
Absolutely. All right. With that, let's move on to Nipun. If you could add your perspective on how data and digital are helping you leverage this opportunity.
Yeah. Good morning and thanks. So my view is that, data analytics has become the core of whether it is doing business or marketing, or even when we look at branding activities, because, in financial services, we know something as know your customer. So it's not only documentation, but it's also to know your audience and which product to pitch to the customer, because what is his propensity to consume. So data analytics, in fact, plays one of the most important roles in deciding what you want to, end of the day, give a solution to the customer. And as Sarthak said, phygital, I think phygital is here to stay. It's not something that, at least from life insurance space, that it'll become 100% digital. Few products will be 100% digital, like your term insurances, but otherwise, so there is a component, something called as the financial literacy rate. There is regular literacy rate, and then there is a financial literacy rate. So there is still a long way to go on the financial literacy rate. Customers know what they want, but they want to understand. So phygital model will continue, where the distributors or the bank assurance partners will play a critical role in terms of the servicing to the customer happening, because insurance products somewhere are a little difficult products to understand. Keeping that in mind, I think analytics goes down to the level not only at the digital space, but at the ground level space also. So the frontline staff also uses analytics in terms of understanding the customer need and pitching the right solution to the customer. And as a business, it helps us in terms of if we give the right solution to the right customer, then you have the persistency and the customer stays with you for much longer. The more he stays longer with you, as you said, you are getting more and more data about within 48 hours. The same way, the more better you know your customer. And then the cross-sell opportunities can happen. So that's for the bottom line. And second, when you are devising your brand strategy, if you understand your customer well, you are much more effective in terms of deciding your brand strategy. So I would say it's analytics and technology are not two different things. Both cannot survive in isolation. And both are part of the entire business proposition, whether it is even for the operations in terms of when the customer services are needed. So it runs across. I think that's the sutradhar for every aspect when you are looking at servicing the customer. So going forward, I think the trend started way back, if I remember correctly, was back in 80s, 85s when Nectar started the data analytics model on the Tesco shops. Understanding how many people are buying diapers and comparing it to the beer sales from that store. So I think those seeds were sowed then, and now technology is making things much more simpler. And we have these MarTech tools available to us to deliver. So that's my view. Over to you, Dhaval. Thanks.
Thanks, Nipun. I think, again, that was a really interesting way of looking at it. Also, this aspect of lines blurring between analytics, technology, marketing, these are no longer discrete things. They all play out of each other. And therefore, the CMOs, the CTOs, the CXOs, there is a significant overlap in terms of expertise that comes into play, in terms of perspectives that one brings into play. Because at the end of the day, it all revolves around the customer. And how does one really make life easier for them? By bringing all the tools and technology and know-how out there to make it work for them, because that's when everything else starts falling into place. So perfect. Also, this aspect of frontline folks, right? I mean, in interesting ways, you could make analytics endpoints available to these different touch points the best way possible. So yes, that point is well taken. All right, with that, let's move on to Zubin to hear his views on the topic. Zubin? I think Zubin isn't audible. Can you guys see or hear Zubin? I can't see him. All right, let's move on. Yeah, I think we'll come back to him. Let's move on to Shiv then. Shiv, if you could share your perspectives around how you are seeing this whole data analytics, technology, marketing revolution happen in your context.
Sure. Thank you so much, Dhaval. Good morning to everybody. Thankfully, Nippon did the opening for me, so I will have to only build on it. We are in the business of underwriting risk, and the risk that we underwrite pertains to human lives. Now, I mean, if I go back to the history of our business, probably, I mean, they actually used to apply standard rates for people. Now the market is getting a lot more segmented, and the pricing intensity is also going out of our favor. So what becomes really important is to assess the risk that each of the life presents, and the risk that two people of the same age present are no longer the same. And over the last many years, what we've witnessed is if you apply data sciences appropriately, you're able to offer a differentiated value to customers. Apart from, of course, curating solutions for each individual as opposed to creating one product fit all solutions. So I think that's a trend that's been happening over the last many years. What data has done to us is our ability to segment, create micro segments, and offer curated solutions. Now that's only one, that's the supply side of our business. On the demand side, that's the demand side of the business where we are able to identify pockets. On the supply side, reaching out to customers, both on the digital as well as physical channels, it becomes far more easier. We are now able to do geo-targeting and saying, hey, this pocket, this kind, and profitably. So I think that shift has happened. Like like Nipun also mentioned, it's now easier to now create segments of much smaller sizes. Hopefully someday we will create segments of one. And therefore, this is now creating new possibilities, new opportunities for us. So we'll talk about this today.
Sure. Okay, great. Yeah, thanks, Shiv. I think that's another interesting point of, micro segments, right? Segment of one. I mean, that's really where the world is headed. I mean, we keep, in our academic world, we keep hearing about this paradigm of every customer being unique. We say that every customer is unique in some way. There are certain nuances, certain aspects that are unique about a customer. Now, today we actually have the tools that we need to exploit this uniqueness in the right way, right? So we get down to not just segments or micro segments. Of course, there are multiple approaches there, but we have what it takes now to be able to get down to an individual customer, what we call a segment of one, and then build our propositions for them in terms of interventions, product propositions, customer service, you name it. So I think that's really the new frontier, which is a win-win for both of us, as the brand as well as the consumer, where we understand their needs better, customize their interactions with us, so they get more value out of it. They get more value out of it. They're going to stay longer with the brand. They're going to transact more with the brand. So it helps the brand achieve its objectives as well. So it just sort of adds up for everybody, and it makes it a win-win, more a symbiotic association than than the way it was ever before. So very interesting. Moving on to Jagannath, to hear your views on how this whole interesting confluence of data, marketing, digital is coming together in the digital product space, right? If you could, yeah.
Thank you, Dhaval. Right. So before I get into that, just wanted to add on to one statement that you made, right, which is about Eric Smith's prediction at the start, right? So today, as we stand, the latest IDC projection is that for the next 3 years, the amount of data generated will be equal to what has been generated over the past 30 years. Okay? So we move beyond that. Now, that's good news for a data storage product company like Western Digital, right? So we operate both in the B2C space and B2C space, offering a wide range of products, okay, for consumers to create and manage their data. Now, getting back to your question, to me, data has become a very strategic asset for all marketers, okay? And technology is a magic wand that allow him to harness the power of that strategic asset. Okay? So that's how it's evolving today. The digital age has actually changed the dynamics between a brand and a consumer. Okay? So it's no more a passive listener to whom you are actually marketing today, right? So today, consumers are a part of a dynamic network where they are interacting with each other, interacting with the brand, interacting with their peers, and they have taken control of shaping the brand perception, the brand narrative, and the brand story in the marketplace, right? So the brand owner is today an influencer, just an influencer. Okay, so in order to ensure that you have a positive story on your brand out there, okay, it is really important to manage data. Okay, so you need to know what the consumer is doing, how he is going to think about your product, how he is going to buy your product, right? So you need to clearly understand how the marketing funnel is being redefined by this customer network, and how the new path to purchase is being rethought, okay, and reshaped. So once you map this, okay, data becomes extremely critical for you to reach out to your customers in whatever way and wherever he is available today. Okay, so that's super critical. Now, okay, at times a marketer will need to react fast depending on what's happening out there in the marketplace. It could be like, one of my customers is searching for a product, okay, at a particular location, right? You got to know when, where, and how, so that you can react fast. Okay, so that's data. Okay, so you can qualify that as fast data. Depending on that, you can reframe your marketing tactic to address that customer. Okay, at times you need to actually build patterns, right? You need to figure out, okay, what has been the past data, and then you should be able to predict a trend as you move forward, right? So that's very important for a marketer to build his long-term strategy as we move forward. Something as simple as, right, say, evaluating a heat map either of your website or if your retail outlet to figure out where the customer concentration is very critical. Okay, so that's an important play for data, and we call that as big data, right? The other important aspect is, right, on the qualitative aspect, right? So you got to see what the customer is doing than just hearing what he's saying, right? So this is where the qualitative aspect comes into play, right? This is thick data, right? Now, right, these are data which are coming to you thick and fast, okay, in a very unstructured manner, unlike the traditional world where you had them everything in a fitted database, right? So it's extremely critical for you to have the right kind of technology, in this case, what we call as MarTech, to harness, nurture, and have the right kind of insights for you to build the right strategy. Okay? So that's where I see the confluence of data, marketing, and technology kicking in.
Yes, well said, Jagannath. I think, and whatever happens on the intelligence side, you guys are going to benefit by the sheer volume of data that's out there. So it's up to the brands to see how they can make intelligent use of it. But yes, and this whole aspect, which even I think Sarthak pointed out earlier on, is that the customer is a part of this process. It's no longer brand marketing to a customer. It's about, a flux of things happening where the customer is pulling a lot of stuff from his end as well, to drive the creation of marketing activities, product propositions, and so on. So, like you said, the customers have taken control of the brand narrative in some sense. So you really have to weave the narrative in a manner which is being co-created, and brands which are open for this co-creation are the ones that are benefiting the most. Okay. So it's no longer about, when they say B2C, it's really not B2C. It's B2C to B, So it's really about harmonious exchange in many ways in terms of how it really happens. So pretty amazing there. Moving on to Boniface to hear your views around this interesting conversation.
Hi, Dhaval. Thank you. So what I believe is, in today in all industries are inevitably turning towards digital as is the expectation from the customer. Uh, More so from a BFSI point of view, as it forms the base of the industry. As we all talk about money, right? And that is required for transactions. So that's one of the building blocks. Apart from money, there are two other building blocks which have come into place by default, and these two are data and technology. And these are the fundamental building blocks for marketing, customer experience, and digital business. Hence, it is important to have all of these three together for us to provide a differentiated and personal experience to the customer. Uh, let's look at just two, three aspects of it. One, it is the biggest data source. Having worn both the hats of marketing and digital. If you look at marketing, to get insights about the customer, to create a marketing campaign, just look at the pains of going to get the data, doing a research on ground. Here we have customer connecting with us and giving all possible data points without even we asking for it, and it's up to us to interpret that data and use it the way we want to provide a richer, better, more customized, personalized, one-on-one experience to the customer. And if you don't use it, and we just have ourselves to, it can't get any more foolish than that if you don't use that data. uh, and more so the customer is asking. In olden days, you called a landline, you identified yourself and said, okay, I need help, I need this service, or I need this product. Today, what happens is the customer calls or interacts with us saying that, hey, you already know everything about me. So what is that you can do for me? And that is the whole fundamental shift in customer behavior. And which is where we have to move towards, or we already have moved towards. So we need to understand the customer as much as possible, know what is that the customer wants, and then provide a better experience to the customer. Now, in that point of view, if you look at it, technology and data enable us in terms of, one, knowing the customer. Technology enables in terms of having those delivery mechanisms in place, and marketing helps in terms of creating that kind of experience to help provide a relevant connect with the customer. all three coming together help us in terms of building a personal experience, which will help in terms of building a much more deeper connect with the customer, help in increasing the lifetime value, and help in terms of building lifetime loyalty of the customer. Lifetime value is what we marketers or business guys think, but loyalty is what we should actually look at. And if you build a loyalty using all three of this together, we've cracked it then.
Absolutely. I think interesting, Bonnie. And I think this whole aspect of customer telling us so much more intuitively, without even us asking, is really the big opportunity out there. As they say, Google knows more about us than we know about ourselves, right? And that's so true. That's actually so true. Our minds can only process certain kinds of things. When you're browsing on an e-commerce site and you browse, let's say, 40 products, the e-commerce site actually understands your preferences a lot more than you understand your preferences in the first place, which is where the whole latent need aspect of it gets unlocked. And today we are working with a few e-commerce brands where we make product recommendations to customers based on their browsing behaviors. And it will be interesting to note that once the customer has browsed more than 30 products, we know what their color preferences are. We know what their style preferences are. We know what their design preferences are much better than the customer himself. And there are predictive models that will make very interesting product recommendations, which result in much higher click-through rates and buy rates, because you're presenting the customer with a product which he or she actually wants, but did not really know that he or she actually wanted. So this is where the customer delight really comes into play, where you use a lot of these breadcrumb trails that they're leaving. Of course, again, it cuts both ways. How are you using this data versus, there are, like I said, starting off, it's a very responsible area and needs that level of sensitivity. But if you really put the connected dots well, you can really make customers' lives a lot better. And that's where loyalty and lifetime values and cross-sell and all of that becomes incidental to that customer experience. And before we move into the next part of the conversation, we love to put analogies to play, right? People say data is the new oil and, it's a new resource, and all of that. There's an interesting analogy that I have attempted to create there, but I would say data is the new blue pill, from the Matrix world, right? It offers you a glimpse of the reality if you want to, so it's really about that. How can we see reality for what it is by using all data out there, and therefore make lives great for the customer, and in the process make lives great for businesses as well. And there is, if you guys have read Sapiens and Homo Deus and all, the books written by Yuval Noah Harari, he talks about, humans becoming superhumans because of the data that's out there, because we can now understand so much more than what we ever understood. And therefore, it's, again, with great power comes great responsibility. So as brands, I think it's important for us to use it really well. With that, let's move on to the next aspect of this conversation, where I would want to, really ask you guys specific questions around how it could, help us all understand how dynamics of your world are playing out in the context of data. So starting again with you, Sarthak. For you guys, as you said, phygital is really important, and it's, real estate is not a high frequency business, right? Unlike some of our other panelists here, where you have repeat visits and you want customers to do repeat transactions and so on. But real estate, you've just got to concentrate on that one important transaction that has to happen, in most cases. So how do you use all this data to really drive customer acquisition? And I'm going to add in the second question here as well. If you could give us a view of what kind of tools and platforms are you currently using? What does your current MarTech stack look like in terms of helping you drive this customer experience? And how do you therefore, how do you do acquisition? How do you do lead generation? How do you do acquisition in this new world?
Well, Dhaval, I would say, Dhaval, sorry. As far as the lead acquisition is concerned, or reaching out to new prospects, I believe most of the industries are working in the same direction. Obviously, real estate, it is a very high involvement business, because people really invest their, I would say, lifetime savings in one product, and the lifespan for that product is plus 20, 25 years. Now it has started to reduce a bit, I can say that. But some of the key aspects I can say, especially from that entire piece of digital coming into the scenario and everything, today the customers are actually looking out and searching about the product online. So earlier, what used to happen in this industry, I think offline really used to play the major role. And because we operate in very micro markets, so it is not something which is like, I would say today, and especially in the last 3-4 years of real estate, all of us know that the investor class has actually been on the sidelines. It is more of the consumption class or the end buyer. So almost 80% plus has been absorbed within that micro market. So you really have to be very heavy over there. So when I say both that amalgamation or a 360 approach of both online and offline coming together, whether it is through outdoors, that is something what most of the real estate players love to do. And then obviously a bit of print, but now it is actually digital, especially from the perspective of creating those virtual tours and reaching out to your end customer. And also from the perspective of, I can say a lot of retargeting has also been looked into this particular aspect now, because you really have to create those lookalikes. So like you said that, okay, from a technology standpoint, probably Amazon or a Flipkart might throw you back saying that, okay, this is what you have searched, and probably this product might be of your interest. So similar thing lies with us also, that, okay, what type of consumers you're approaching, and then you're creating those lookalikes, because I think remarketing really does the trick for us. But apart from that, so it's like SFDC, and we also use Android Suite for us. So again, creating that seamless experience, because as a customer does a call, which is more of a pre-sales, and then you actually speak to him, give him some of the dope of the product, and parallelly you also integrate, I would say, the Salesforce also, because I would say the frontline Salesforce, not that Salesforce, the SFDC, not the SFDC part, because they also need to understand that, okay, what the customer was actually wanting to. So immediately while you're going out, reaching out to the customer, you're actually giving him or her that particular solution. So I can say that the way we look forward is all about listening across the touch points. That is more important for us, because a lot of customers go research, and then they also come back from the perspective that, okay, what product they actually want to buy. Then are you actually satisfying that particular need or not? Doing a lot of analysis from the perspective of how the customer has actually in terms of web analytics or the attribution or the predictive modeling at our end, what we are actually doing. And then conversing with the customer, probably through SMS or through our website, remarketing, etc. What I've said. But in this entire piece, just to give you some facts and figures, I would still say that more than 50% of the customer transactions today are actually being influenced by digital. So you can imagine that, okay, over the last decade, how this entire space has actually changed.
Right.
And almost today, a lot of, I would say, developers are also driving direct sales, which is also being influenced through digital in terms of reaching out to the customer directly through, whether it's through Facebook ads or through any other channel, be it a LinkedIn. But believe me, for us, more important is that, okay, one size does not fit everything or does not fit all. So you really have to create those ad sets also for the customer to really understand that, okay, if he's on a LinkedIn, his mindset is completely different as compared to a Insta, as compared to a Facebook. So you really have to do all these things also in terms of creating those particular ad sets, reaching out to the customer, understand his needs, and giving him that particular thing at that particular platform. So I can also say that while you're talking about all these things, reaching out to the customer in various aspects, but this entire piece of MarTech also helps you in terms of optimizing the cost. That is one key thing, because right now the resources are much limited. So you really need to do the best in those available resources also. So this is these are certain things, but for us, another aspect is ORM. I would say, like we said, we're talking about loyalties over here. So online reputation management really becomes very important. What the customer is actually writing about you, and how fast you are actually addressing what he's writing or what he's wanting. Because I can say probably Nipun or a Shiv can really emphasize upon zero moment of truth, because that's something which is like one customer has experienced and he's just putting it across, saying that, okay, this is what the product is all about. So that is more into that FMCG stuff or FMCD. Here it is not so much there, but ORM really is very important for us. And then NPS becomes another key, because today, while we are talking about almost close to about 30 odd touch points for a customer before he actually comes for a site visit, how across each of these 30 odd touch points, what is the NPS and how we can actually better ourselves for a better customer experience. So all these things becomes a cohesive part of our entire 360-degree planning. I can say this.
Interesting. Nipun, you want to add your view on it in terms of how are you guys, in a regulated space like insurance, how are you guys driving differentiation and, product differentiation, service differentiation, and so on? And therefore, what kind of tools and platforms are you guys using to drive these engagements with your customers?
Yeah, sure. So I think Sarthak really spent gave good information regarding ORM and all, which he's right. It's very critical in terms of insurance or any financial product, at least, because the escalations are far more detrimental than not resolving it on time. Keeping that in mind, I think just stepping back on the previous discussion on, with the data, sometimes you don't know what the customer doesn't know what he wants, but you know it. So I think it relates back to what we used to study during our MBA was the Johari window, where you don't know what you want, but the other knows about you. So I think that's the little scary part of data to predict of how your next actions are going to be. Now, keeping that in mind, so when it's about an insurance product, especially in PNB MetLife, we are regulated, and Shiv would agree, and Bonnie has seen that regulation eras for many years. Now, you get very limited flexibility, but things have slightly moved ahead with sandbox and other activities coming from the regulator IRD. But at the same time, whilst PNB MetLife, what we have done is we have moved away from calling it as products, but to solutions. And we map it against the life cycle of a customer. So whether he needs it for his retirement, child education, long-term savings, or protection for the family. Now, basis the analysis, the need-based analysis tools, which is not only on the website, but also available to the field staff, the right solution is provided. Now, within that solution, you can have multiple products. Now, I think that's where the phygital again piece comes into. The customer does ROPO, he reads online, but he wants to purchase offline because once he understands the nuances and the terms and conditions of the product. So there somebody has to explain. Although, for example, in a term insurance, he can have a straight through 100% online product. So these are the things what we try and ensure is that the correct information and move more towards video and pictorial rather than putting up loads of text. And because so video and consumption and understanding is far better as compared to putting up a PPT or a document. Yeah. So that is one of the things that what we have started doing. Second is from the online and give the customer an omni experience. So when my sales guy is at the ground level is also selling the product, whether the customer visits the website or what is told to him by the field sales team is the similar experience and contact. So we are ensuring that even when we go on social media, whether we go on other platforms on digital or when we are doing direct marketing to our customers, experience information is same and it is more surgical. So a certain solution, if it's like I would not be sending out a child solution plan to my entire audience, but understand which is the age group which might need this. Or a retirement, if I send it to a younger generation guy, he's just going to put it aside. So again, your data analytics in terms of propensity to consume plays a very important role. And that helps you to optimize your expenses and get a far better conversion ratio. So that is what we believe in, and strictly use data for the life stages of the customer and then pitch the product. Yes, it is regulated, but I think that's our job to make things more creative and more simple for the customer to understand, keeping the regulations in mind. So that's 2 bit from my side.
True, very true. Moving on to Shiv, if you want to add to what Nipun said, and also just throw a little bit of light around how do you guys look at improving persistency by using these new age tools and platforms, and if you could sort of share a few perspectives around the kind of tools or platforms you guys use to help manage this customer life cycle, right? Including managing of specific moments of truth, like managing the claims process or scoring the customers or managing settlements, because these are touch points where the customer is actually putting the brand to test. These are moments of truth when they want to really get the best of their trust that they've invested in the brand. So how are you using all the data and the tools out there to deliver on this trust and on this experience across different touch points across the customer life cycle, and a couple of tools and platforms that you use for that.
Sure. Very relevant for our business. Unlike many other products where the sale is one time, I think our products are far longer in nature. It could be anywhere from 5 years to for the rest of his life. Usually our products are for the average tenure of our products will be anywhere between 14 to 15 years. Customer is expected to pay 14, 15 years, and the pitching for the product needs to be right. Many times the pitch to the customer isn't right. Maybe either it's a lack of training on part of the seller, or is it sheer miscommunication, intended or unintended. Therefore, quality of origination becomes extremely important, and that's where we started our digital transformation journey 4 years back, where we leveraged. So we created an in-house tool. Now, our 96% of our sales is now through this particular software, where we are able to identify the customer, because we need to assess the risk accurately. And for that, we use a propensity model. We call it the pre-issuance risk verification engine, where we have harnessed the knowledge of our past claims data to understand which customer is likely to pose a risk to the pool that we create. So that's the first thing that we do. Second is we assess the customer need basis his lifestyle and life stage to understand whether this product is really making sense for this customer or not. The third thing that we do is when the customer agrees to buy the plan, we tell the customer that, look, this is the kind of return that you will get on this policy. This is the kind of death sum assured that you're going to get. You have to pay the premiums, same premium for the next 20 years, and so on and so forth. So that the customer really understands what he's getting into. Many of the pain points that we hear afterwards, either on the online platforms, on social media, or by way of complaints, is that I wasn't told about the policy product features at the time of origination. I was told that you got to pay for only 3 years. So I think that's something that we've been able to check very effectively, which has helped us not just improve our customer retention, also reduce customer complaints. Our NPS scores have moved up because we started leveraging technology and data. That was the third thing. That was the second thing. The third thing that we did was we implemented something called the it's again an analytical model, where we assess which customer is likely to pay renewal premiums, which customer is unlikely to pay renewal premiums. And this is leveraging our past data to really see the trends. Some customers pay only for 2 years, some pay only for 3 years, some pay for 5 years and then forget. So for customers who are assessed as high risk or propensity to not pay beyond of a point, we insist on mandatory electronic payment mandates, which essentially ensures that customers continue for a longer period of time. So these are the few things that we do from a customer retention point of view. Next, what we do is many times, in fact, most of the complaints that we receive are actually not complaints, but they are queries that escalate into a complaint, because the customer was simply looking for a simple response. How many more premiums do I need to pay? And therefore, what we've done is of course, we empowered our frontline, and the customer really doesn't want to go to the branch. Customer wants to chat. Now, we created the website bot. Now we've also launched the WhatsApp bot. So some of these bot features, they are self-service tools, which also help us collect very vital information in terms of what time of the day the customer is engaging with. We also get to collect which language the customer is comfortable interacting with. So these kind of also give us valuable information, which will come handy as we go forward. We need to collect a sizable quantum of data before we start putting that to use. So that's the second thing that we did. Third is we also leveraged digital and technology to empower our frontline salespeople. Now, like Nipun mentioned, there is a severe crisis when it comes to financial literacy. That financial literacy crisis also percolates down to many of the people who are on the ground, their first jobs, got into sales, not fully conversant with different financial products, including how my product is different from competition, how my product is different from a competing category. So those tools, technologies also we are leveraging. We've deployed learning bots and so on and so forth, which essentially is going about creating a larger and a healthier ecosystem in which we operate. Now coming on, so that's on the delivery to customer side. What we're also doing from a lead generation and sales management point of view is so 1 in 10 customers who interacts with us probably shows interest in buying a product, and many of them also drop out at later stages. How do we keep engaging with some of those customers? How do you keep remarketing? How do you start understanding the preferences of those prospects? I think is becoming increasingly important in our scheme of things as we move towards selling directly more and more. That's how we are trying to leverage digital and technology in maximizing business opportunities for us.
Yeah, Shiv, that was really interesting. You kind of gave us a good elaborate view of things that kind of nicely summarized, areas that all of us would in some shape and form addressing in our own businesses. So since we're running out of time, quick 60 seconds for you, Jaganathan, for giving us a quick view around how does your MarTech stack look like currently, and how do you look at evolving it going forward?
Okay, so if you look at our portfolio, it predominantly revolves around a host device, right? Particularly for consumers, right? Either it is a smartphone or a PC, using which he or she generates data, and then he or she has to manage that data effectively. Now, what that means is, right? Our analytics should provide us with the right kind of information with respect to what type of operating system a smartphone user is using, right? Is it iOS or Android, right? Within Android, you'll probably need some additional cuts like what type of features are there in the smartphone, okay? Does he use a high-end smartphone with really, really high-end cameras, or does he use, right, a smartphone with Type-C interface or Type-A interface, right? And if it's a computer, you got to know, right, what type of, right, storage solutions that are there inside the computer, right? Is it a hard disk, right, or right, the latest SSDs, right? So this is one type of cut that you look at, right? The other aspect is predominantly based on their interests, right? So, right, is he a content creator or is he a content consumer, right? You got to know these aspects, okay, upfront for you to actually build a cohesive digital experience, right? So, right, once you have this, right, what we actually do is to build, right, different types of content, digital content to intersect the consumer at different stages of his journey, right? So we are a digital first organization. We became digital first as early as 2015. We build a lot of high quality digital videos, right, to communicate the brand story as well as educate the consumers on how to use different technology products to manage the content they are creating. Okay, so this is one important aspect. The other important aspect is, right, you should partner with him, right, rather than just looking at him as an opportunity to sell. So from that perspective, right, we look at occasional marketing, we look at contextual marketing, right, we look at moment marketing, right. These are important aspects to keep right, your brand lively within the consumer's, right, mind share. To give you a couple of examples, we celebrated World Photography Day in a big way right, last August, and we celebrated World Backup Day last March, right? So these are important occasions which remind consumers about the importance of the data that they have, both personal and professional, right? And what this also allows you to do is to communicate the right type of products for them to actually take advantage of. Now, artificial intelligence plays a very important role in defining the marketing persona so that the return on ad spend is very high for you. Okay? So we do that across all media platforms that we work with. We do programmatic buying in YouTube. So we do interest-based targeting in FB. Right? We use Tutler for app-based targeting in an extensive way. Some of the other platforms, MarTech platforms that we use extensively are, Social Bakers. It's a comprehensive platform for you to, right, listen, analyze your audience, define your marketing personas, assess the ROI, and quickly morph, right, your communication content, right? So that's one. The other aspect is Meltwaters, which is predominantly a social listening tool in the corporate communication space. Okay? The third one which we use, okay, right, fairly, right, extensively, right, is the Marketo engine from Adobe to communicate with customers on a more one-to-one basis, right? So these are some of the important tools that we've implemented to facilitate the MarTech stack within our organization.
Thanks, Jagannath. That was again quite interesting in terms of the width of tools that you bring into play along with the strategy to back it all. So that's pretty interesting. Bonnie, over to you. Last 30 seconds. I know we're pressed for time, but quick views on the topic. And what platforms do you use in your current scheme of things in your MarTech stack? Bonnie, your mic is muted. If you could unmute yourself.
So we are doing the seamless integration of various channels to drive first-time mutual fund investors from eKYC to transacting without human interaction, which involves a handshake of MarTech and AdTech, third-party prospect marketing campaigns to website visits to retargeting third-party media and email, SMS dropout campaigns to conversion, integrating the response framework within that. We're also looking at driving channel orchestration implementation, basically reaching out to an existing investor on his preferred channel like email, WhatsApp, web, app, or any preferred mode which the customer prefers, or basis his previous history. So we know that the customer is comfortable with that. We're also looking at automated market linked increase or decrease in bidding strategy on Google, rather than have somebody manning it on the 24/7, and looking at other paid media channels as per market sentiment, so which helps us in terms of optimizing and getting the best out of from business point of view. There's a lot of effort which is undergoing right now, with the intent that we have digital at the core rather than digital being a function by itself. And that's where we're trying to see how digital impacts each and every aspect of the organization, right from conversation, machine learning, recommendations, awareness, universal output capability, different vernacular interactions, transactional status updates to the customer, preemptive service, you name it. So the whole idea is that, as I said before, the idea is to be at digital at the core rather than digital being a function, using analytics as a horizontal rather than a vertical, and moving to data-driven decisions.
Brilliant summarization. Awesome. So yes, we're just almost overshooting our time slot, but I guess we can take the luxury of adding another 30 seconds to it. So I'll quickly summarize what we all just spoke about. First and foremost, I think, guys, this was a very peaceful and harmonious session. We didn't have Murphy show up at all. No connection drops, no audio drops, no background noises. I think it was a pretty peaceful session. So thanks everyone for chipping in. And while we are all the same at many levels, we're also very different at many levels. And I think this was interesting to note from all these different perspectives that came through. And I'm sure we all gained something or the other from each one of our views on it, which can help us improve our own journeys in our MarTech world in the best possible way. So if I have to just summarize it without stretching it much, the one key point is, and before I come to the key point, I think we all spoke about ORM and the involvement of customer, and the customer today has a voice, is no longer, someone who's passive out there, including folks tagging CEOs and MDs on LinkedIn with their complaints these days, right? I mean, so no one can really hide or, get away with something out there. So that makes us all very responsible. Also, because the power is shifting into the hands of the customer, the market is becoming more democratic. So it's kind of helping the ecosystem become more responsible overall and evolve collectively for all stakeholders involved in it. So I think it's a win-win in that sense, and makes us all responsible, including our customers, ourselves, helps us correct our mistakes, helps us improve our experiences, learn from our activities, and so on. And with MarTech coming out there, a lot of this intelligence can now be programmatic. All of these things which we would otherwise rack our brains doing, today algorithms and systems can take care of for us. That spares us the time and effort to operate at a much higher level of the intelligence value chain, where we can focus our energies on more creative stuff, on formulating the right hypothesis, on thinking about the customer and so on, allowing us to do much more big impact or big ideas thinking, while the MarTech stack takes care of the regular stuff and also takes care of the regular intelligence that needs to ensure that the basics and the standard stuff is happening like clockwork. So it just gives us more degrees of freedom to become more strategic, more creative, think more about the customer experience, think more about how we can constantly push the envelope on the value that we're creating for the customer, and in the process help the customer get more from their association with us, and help us as brands get more out of this association with the customer. So it's a win-win for everyone, makes everyone happy, the world is a happy place, and we all sort of are able to move forward in the right way. So if one has to just summarize it in one word, it's all about driving relevance for customers, which in turn drives relevance for all of us, and makes it all work. And that's really the beauty of technology, marketing, and data coming together. It makes our lives more exciting and more fulfilling in terms of whatever it is that we do as a part of our professional set of activities. And that's essentially the high or the kick of being a marketeer in these times, and all of us are lucky enough to experience that, being around in these exciting times of data, marketing, and technology driving our strategies and our consumer experiences and our business impact. So with that, I thank each and every one of you for taking the time out and chipping in with your views and bringing in very interesting perspectives to help us all push the body of knowledge on this subject to a higher level and benefit all of us and our listeners in interesting ways. So thank you, Sarthak. Thank you, Nipun. Thank you, Zubin. I'm sorry Zubin isn't here, but I'm still thanking him wherever he is. Thank you, Shiv. Thank you, Jagannath. And thank you, Bonnie, for your time and the insights and experiences that you all shared today. Thanks, everyone, and thanks to the organizers for putting this together. Over to you, Bhavna, if you can take it up from here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Dhaval. We're really overshooting the time right now. So I'd really once again like to thank everyone for joining us. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.